Hello friends, and welcome to Figure Study, where we appreciate the form in Transformers. In this instance, I guess you could say we appreciate the tiny form in tiny Transformers, because today we're taking a look at DX9's Rager, their War in Pocket version of Grimlock. And this thing is adorable! Not quite as tiny as I was expecting, and we'll get to that in a minute, but still very, very cute. Especially just having come off a video on Fans Toys Grinder, because that's just enormous. So Rager here is honestly, hands down, the most G1 cartoon accurate Grimlock I have, at least in Dino mode. It doesn't have the gold or chrome of the G1 toy or the G1 toy homages made by third parties. It's just straight up silver and yellow with just that little bit of red. And yes, he does still have the Jolly Rancher stuff on the on the back and on his legs by extension. But yeah, this is a neat little figure. I do have a couple of issues with it, but for the most part, very, very cool, and very glad I got my hands on him because he's just so cute and precious, and I love Grimlock, so how could I not? Now, first thing, want to get this out of the way because I'm going to be harping on it, so we'll just get this over with. 3 fingers. T-Rexes don't have 3 fingers. Right, now that that's out of my system, Rager is just a diminutive and very nice rendition of Grimlock. It's a little bit, I don't know if it's weird, I don't know if it's inaccurate, but it does kind of stand out to me that his torso is this really nice silver, his legs are really nice silver, the tip of his tail is a really nice silver, but then the base of his tail is gray and his head is gray. I'm fine with the back here because that's his back, but it's just, why silver and then gray? Why silver and gray? Like, why couldn't this all have been... Yeah. I just feel like it all should have been either silver across the board or gray across the board. Maybe just do, like, the tail tip in silver or something. I don't know. I don't know if this is, like, a cartoon referential thing or what. It's been a really long time since I've seen Grimlock in cartoon form, but it does kind of suck that there's this really nice silver in this spot here and then nowhere else. Especially because with the exception of the arms here, none of the rest of this silver is going to be visible in robot mode, so it's kind of like, why? But anyway, he's still a very adorable Grimlock, and the proportions, from what I can recall, are pretty spot on for a cartoon Grimlock. Like, he's got the tinier head in proportion to his body, unlike Grinder that has the larger head, and he's not swimming in molded details, but the cartoon didn't have a ton of details on him either. And yeah, it's a very cool, cute little T-Rex. Those little toes. Not a lot of detail in Dino mode to speak of. And there's some along here, which will be primarily for robot mode. But yeah, I mean, it is cool. It's got some nice little line work in a few spots. Kind of breaks it up a little bit. Unfortunate screw holes and pin right there, but eh. It does have silver teeth, which is neat, but I don't know why they did this, but he has no front teeth. Like, he has 2 little teeth on the bottom there and nothing on the top, and that's a little disappointing. They did mold a little, like, flamethrower looking thing in there, though, so that's neat. But yeah, it's one thing that bums me about this Dino mode is the fact that he has no front teeth, and I really just don't get why they didn't put those in there. Or maybe maybe they're supposed to be there and mine just is like a manufacturing defect. I don't know, but it's a shame. It is nice that they painted the teeth silver, though. I guess if they painted the head silver, then those wouldn't stand out like they do, so then I guess maybe this should have just been gray? Whatever. I'm going to stop talking about that. Nice metallic blue for the eyes, which I like very much. I just prefer the blue eyes on Grimlock. I don't know. I'm a fan of metallic blue, and I like it. And just a little bit of color breakup there. So yeah, not a whole lot to talk about with this guy because he is pretty tiny and doesn't have a lot of detail. Oh, also, a little detail on the hips there. None of that like clear stuff that a lot of Grimlocks have, but still, the detail's there. It's just not the same color. And his little yellow toes. And yeah, this does have that issue of the backwards knee. I know it bugs some people. I actually don't mind it. Like, you can bend them back a little bit, and yeah, he's got like the backwards knees, but it kind of works. I mean, he's a dinosaur. You know, a lot of them had the kind of weirdly shaped knees. And if you don't like it, you just straighten them out. And you could turn him around, which I refuse to do because I just think it'd be silly to give him like a single claw on his toes rather than two. I do feel like they could have gotten around this by just having this curve on both sides. That way it could swing either way, and I don't think they would have lost anything by doing that. I don't know. I'm not a toy designer. Okay, so size comparisons, and this is going to get interesting in a minute. But first, the non-interesting, or at least the less interesting. We've got the Amiibo and Titans Return Deluxe, which, there we go. So yes, we've got the Amiibo and Titans Return Deluxe. You can see his dino mode is, again, not tiny, but it's an adorable size. For whatever reason, I was kind of expecting him to be maybe about like this big. He was actually bigger than I expected when I got him, but that's fine. He's still cute. And just for the heck of it, in case anyone remembers this video from way back when, it was one of the Assault Force X reflector-alikes that I still have because I still freaking love that set. This guy's so cool. So cool. Anyway, yeah, there you can see how big he is in comparison to Grimlock, or how big Rager, rather, is in comparison to him. This could kind of work, maybe. Alright, now for the fun stuff. I'm actually going to move Rager up here, pull back the camera, pull back the camera more, and let's get this raised up because we're going to do some stuff. I think this is going to be fun. I may not have the camera quite where I need it, so yeah, there will be more adjustments later, but let's get this party started. And when I say party, I of course mean a Grimlock party. So here we have Power of the Primes, a little Fall of Cybertron representation with Planet X's Vulcan. I'm actually going to move this, move you over, because I think you all know what to expect at this point. Yeah, that's right. I had to bring in Fans Toys Grinder, because he is enormous, and I just thought it'd be fun. Let me adjust this a little bit. I just thought it'd be fun to get all the Grimlocks, I should say all the dinosaur Grimlocks I have in one shot. And it's difficult to do, especially with this thing. And I do still have Alternator's Grimlock, but he's a car, so we're just doing the dinosaur Grimlocks. There you have Rager with Vulcan, Grinder, and Power of the Primes Grimlock. And all things considered, I guess you could say that Grinder is a little bit smaller than Deluxe size. It's sort of in between Legends and Deluxe. Alright, let me get these out of here. Alright, let me readjust all this real quick. Alright, so I think that is enough of Rager in his Dino mode, so I'm going to get him into his Robot mode real quick. And this is an interesting transformation. I gotta give DX9 credit. There's actually some really clever stuff going on here. It's not quite your typical Grimlock transformation. And here we have Rager in his robot mode. This is very much a Grimlock, minus the backpack. He still has the gull wings, but he no longer has the T-Rex head. The T-Rex head is actually tucked into his torso. And that's actually a pretty interesting take on it. You know, it's clean. Kinda seems like it's a little unnecessary and almost weird having Grimlock without the T-Rex head hanging off his back, but it's fine. And it's really neat how the tail folds up into the legs. You know, it's not quite Fans Toys Grinder, but it's still, like, especially for this size, it's really cool that they just make the tail disappear into the legs. Now here you can see that whole silver paint thing is kind of a bigger, well, for me anyway, it's a bigger annoyance because just his arms are silver, his legs are like completely gray, and there's nothing else on him that's silver. And like I said, I wish they had either painted all this silver or just left the arms and torso gray, because it seems a little weird and almost unfinished. I don't know if that's quite the right word for it, but it's a little bit noticeable, especially in the lights here, just how that's shiny, that's not. But I mean, the rest of the stuff that's on here as detail is pretty nice. Obviously, he's got the claw cuffs as per usual, and little bits of silver in the waist there, little Jolly Rancher colors in the shins, and a little bit of silver on the toes. Also, props to DX9 to working in an ankle tilt on that. That's really cool. he's a tiny Grimlock with actual posability. It is a little bit of a shame that there are pins going right through there, but I'm not entirely sure where else they could have put them with how these legs transform. Yeah, I mean, all things considered, this is Grimlock. You know, he's got the big gray boots, black thighs, red waist area, yellow, big broad yellow chest. In this case, silver arms, but silver and gray are close. It's very Grimlock, and I very much appreciate it. And for the head, it's going to be a little hard to see because of the dark background, but that is a Grimlock head. That's definitely a Grimlock head. The blue visor is a little too dark. I kind of wish that they had made this the same shade of blue as the T-Rex eyes, which, in case we forget, there you go. And there you can actually see how different the shade is. And yeah, if they had made that like as it is, granted, yeah, the background's a little bit dark, but like even with a lighter background, like those eyes just kind of, the visor just kind of gets lost in that head. I just wish that was a little bit brighter. It's a nice shade overall, but it just, if the head were lighter, it would stand out more, but if the head were lighter, it wouldn't be Grimlock. But yeah, still cool. And he's got this bit here on the chest, which is also classic Grimlock, and you can see a little bit of molded details on the inside there. And there are a bit more details too in the robot mode when you get closer. He's cool. He is very cool, and he is small. And his smallness, I think, definitely attributes to his coolness. There is, aside from the whole silver and gray problem, there is one other issue that I have with this guy. From almost straight on, he looks fine. One could even say he looks cool. And if you didn't know how big he was, this looks like a perfectly fine Grimlock to add to your collection. The problem with this is when we start to look at him from the top. And this is a smaller figure, so you're probably going to be looking at him from an upward angle, like looking down, fairly often. And as we start to turn him down, you can start to see the problem. That gappiness there, that really bugs me. Short of just adding a bunch of new engineering tricks that could like cover this up with panels or something, I don't really know what else they could have done. And yeah, limitations and engineering costs and all that, I understand. But that's just, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. But I mean, if you're looking at him from an angle, even from the top, it's okay, because it kind of flows together, but it's just, that is just some angles, he does not look great. And that's a little disappointing, because it's Grimlock. I feel like Grimlock deserves a little bit better than that. Like, everything else on this guy is very clean and tidy. Maybe it's just me being unreasonable, but that bugs the crap out of me. Alright, enough harping on Rager's shoulder thing. Let's get ready for some size comparisons here. Here he is with a Titan's Return Deluxe and the Amiibo, and you can see he does get a bit taller, as is the case with pretty much all classic Grimlock transformations, but he is still on the short side, because that's the whole point of this toy. It's the whole point of this line. So like I said, he's sort of in between Legends and Deluxe. And that's totally fine. I mean, I feel like it's Grimlock, so I think this would actually work pretty well with Legends scale figures. I've said this before, I'm not a huge scale junkie, so for me, rough approximation is totally fine. So I don't know how perfectly this will scale with Legends, but I feel like, you know, Grimlock is a big dude. He should tower over a lot of regular Transformers, and if you've got Legends figures, they probably come up to about here on him, and I think that works. Bringing in our Perfect Effects Assault Force dude, you can see he's tiny compared to Rager here, and that's completely fine. Let's get them more towards the center here. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with them being kind of that scale. Granted, these guys, not really legend scale, they're kind of their own thing, but still, it's not bad. I like seeing him tower over stuff. Let's bring the Grimlock party back for one last size comparison, and hopefully I've got the camera in a good position for all this. Ah, so close, grinders. Just tickling the edge of the frame there. Let me adjust this real quick. Alright, I think that's got it. So, here we have all of our Grimlocks. We've got Rager, Power of the Primes Grimlock, Planet X's Vulcan, and Fans Toys Grinder. This is an interesting assortment of bots, I have to say, and the aesthetic on all of them is a little bit different. Like, I know Power of the Primes Grimlock is going for a sort of in-between classic Grimlock and more modern approach, and Vulcan is obviously Fall of Cybertron, so that's a completely different aesthetic. So it's interesting just how these two are sort of the the closest approximation to each other. In fact, getting Vulcan and Power of the Primes Grimlock out of the way, we can do a bit more of a direct comparison with the two closest to G1 classic Grimlock figures that I've got. And yeah, using Grinder as a basis, as sort of our stand-in for classic Grimlock, they hit a lot of the same notes in overall design here. The broad yellow, in this case yellow and gold, chests, the big shoulders, the wrist claws, the same color blocks on the shins, though Grinder's toes are black, whereas Rager's toes are silver. Yeah, it's very, very classic Grimlock, and here we've totally got a father and son kind of thing going, and that's adorable. Alright, let me give the camera one more adjustment, and then we can wrap this up. Alright, so DX9 Rager. It's a very, very cool little Grimlock if you're interested in a smaller than usual Grimlock. I do think it's cool how they managed to tuck the tail completely into the legs, and it's an interesting approach to the transformation with the dinosaur head ending up inside the torso and the way this kind of turns upside down so that the dinosaur belly element is actually a little bit differently presented in robot mode. It's not just this shifts down and becomes the dinosaur stomach area. It actually ends up upside down. That's nice. I mean, it varies it up a little bit more in between the two modes. Really, just design-wise, the thing that bugs me with Rager is the arms being silver when, his legs clearly aren't. And this nonsense, which just is always going to bug me. The other thing that's kind of, I don't know if this is just mine or what, but it's something to be aware of. A few of the joints on this guy are really tight, like scary tight. Not a huge problem in most cases, and a number of them have loosened up over time, but one of his elbows is like, I grab it at the elbow to twist because it's so tight, I'm afraid that something's going to snap off or that pin's going to get really loose. And I forget which one, but one of his shoulders was originally really loose out of the box to the point where the mushroom peg had actually worked itself out while I was busy messing with him. And it was fine to just push it back in, but it's still a little bit on the tight side. So just something to be aware of. This guy is definitely, he's solid. He's solidly built, but perhaps a little too solid. Anyway, that's enough of my thoughts on Rager. So, what do you all think of this guy? Are you into the smaller size? I think it's pretty neat. Is this something that you can forgive better than I can? Because, like I said, I can deal with it, kind of, but it still is going to bug the crap out of me every time. And what about the whole silver arms, not silver anything else in robot mode thing? When it doesn't have the studio lights on, it's less blatantly obvious, but here, that stands out a little too much. Actually, looking at it in the camera, it actually bugs me more than looking at it in person, as it makes that contrast stand out even more. But whatever you think of Rager here, feel free to let me know. You can leave a comment down below, and while you're at it, also feel free to like or subscribe. Any combination of those three would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art, even if it's not full size, is more than meets the eye.